Next up, leading Malibu.
They're elected to set city policy. Two city council members are here to discuss some of the most pressing issues that they see the city facing. Liza, I'll send it back to you in our NewsWave studio for that.
Thank you, Joe. Joining me live are City Council members Steve Vuring and Doug Stewart. Steve is more than halfway through his term, and Doug just started serving his. Thank you both for being here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
So I met you guys for the first time in person last week at the first in-person City Council meeting back. How do you guys feel about being off of Zoom after all these years?
I couldn't wait. We had, I was on the Public Safety Commission, so we did that for the last almost 3 years. And to be back in person and meet the public again was so nice. It was what we should be doing.
Having personal interaction with the people that are coming up to talk to you, I think, makes a difference. You get to know them more and what their feelings are, and I think it helps.
Yeah. So I talked to Mayor Silverstein, and he said that one of the biggest issues that the City Council was covering over the past year was the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District separation. So what do you guys think about that separation, and what do you think it's going to look like in the future?
And I think Mayor Silverstein was being kind. This thing's been going on for over 15 years, all right? And it has been a struggle. I mean, it's a combination of residents in Malibu do believe they're being underserved by the Santa Monica School District. So they're looking to try and improve that. But the same token, Santa Monica is getting a lot of money from Malibu. And, you know, trying to separate the education of the kids from the money has been a little bit more difficult than we hoped it would have been. But we've got a memorandum of understanding now, so in theory we've got a path to move forward. We'll just see how quickly we can execute that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Steve's right. This is two separate school districts, in effect, pushed together by convenience decades ago.
Yeah.
And what we need to do now is to realize that we have our own unique needs here in Malibu. Santa Monica has its own unique needs. And it's like a divorce. I mean, that's what it really is. We're trying to figure out what to do with the money and the kids. And
He's right. He's absolutely correct.
That's what it boils down to. And everybody has, I think, the right intentions, looking out for their best interest. But for Malibu, our best interest is to get a school system for ourselves as soon as we can and start building up the families that can feed that school system. Because when you have a good school system, you get families. Mm-hmm. When you've got good housing, you get families. So we need to bring that back for Malibu.
Mm-hmm. Well, and speaking of, you know, the housing and residents staying here, it's been 5 years since Woolsey, over 5 years, and there's still houses being rebuilt. What has the progress looked like on that? And, you know, what are your thoughts on that still going on all of these years later and impacting all of those families who used to live here?
Well, I can tell you, I was right in the middle of the fire at my house. The house across the street burned, and we were fortunate that our house was okay. And every one of those houses has a story with it. There's a family, there's a institution time in Malibu, and we need to get those houses rebuilt. Roughly the numbers, as I understand it, is we've got out of I think it was 470 homes or so that were totally destroyed. About 1/4 are finished and occupied, about 1/4 are under construction, 1/4 are in paper processing at some stage, and 1/4 is they don't know. And it's unfortunate for the don't knows. It's unfortunate for everybody that isn't in their homes. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to help as much as we can and prioritize those people to get back in their houses.
Mm-hmm.
Doug is absolutely correct. I mean, I think the fire has the potential of dramatically changing our community. You know, there were a lot of, in Western Malibu especially, there were people who had lived there forever. I mean, forever, but a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And in many cases, their houses were underinsured because they never had a fire there before. So the process of rebuilding for them has been a struggle. And Doug's right. You know, you need families, you need children, you need to have a source, you know, providing enrollment for the schools, and we're still a ways away from doing that. I mean, I think we've got some. And the other side of the coin is what's happened is some of the corporations have seen an opportunity, so they've come in and bought some of these properties and are turning them into rentals, okay, which is, I guess, good for them, but I'm not sure rental, properties that turn over rental people every couple of months is the best thing for helping our community grow. So struggle, and we got to do a lot of work to get it fixed.
Well, on the topic of the short-term rentals, the California Coastal Commission recently struck down any restrictions. Why do you guys think that restrictions on those short-term rentals are necessary in Malibu?
You first.
Okay. I believe our first responsibility is to protect the community. I mean, it's residents living in Malibu. They were plumbers, they were taxi drivers, they were bartenders, and they spent a long portion of their life trying to make enough money to move into this coastal community. All right, and I think we owe them something. I don't, after all that work and all that struggle, to have somebody come in and live next door to you and turn it into a party house, I just think that's wrong. That is not what they bought into. That is not what they deserve. So I think there does have to be some control over these short-term rentals to make sure they're not destroying neighborhoods, because that's, that's what we've seen here. That's what we've seen in other communities. They just come in. It's like Groundhog Day every day. Brand new people moving in and out, and I don't think that's good for the neighborhood or the community.
Yeah, and when you look at what happens with short-term rentals, when it's truly a short-term rental, you've taken housing stock out of the market. It's not a rental apartment anymore for someone that wants to make a living and live in the city. It's now, in effect, a hotel on steroids. Yeah. And what we have to look at is what's acceptable to the community to have some accommodations for visitors, and that's what the Coastal Commission was after. They want to make sure that there is a way for people to stay in Malibu on an affordable basis. I think the major issue for us with the Coastal Commission is how we're going to manage the ones that are hosted versus the ones that are not hosted. There was a very good example of how to do this with Half Moon Bay about 6 weeks or so ago with the Coastal Commission, where they talked about what they would accept at Half Moon Bay, and this may be a model for us. We have to be careful on this, however, because we're getting close to Brown Act issues here, and we want to talk about what we talked in public about. We can't tell you about what we're thinking individually.
Well, it seems like all of these issues kind of revolve around the need to keep Malibu a community, and not just a tourist attraction or somewhere like that. And the Malibu City Council is a staple of the community. So what is it like to be a council member, and why did you want to be part of the City Council?
I moved into Malibu 30 years ago, and I had no idea. My wife found Malibu, so here's where we're going to move, so we ended up here. And I started running into some people who had lived here for a very long time. And they started reading the Malibu General Plan to me. The General Plan was sort of the Bible that people wrote when the city started. It says, here's what we want to be when we grow up. And it sounded great then, and it sounds great today. We want to be a rural community, a comfortable coastal community. We want to take care of our neighborhoods. We want to take care of the environment. We want to take care of public safety. We want to take care of the city finances. I mean, those are all things that make me feel good to do. So that's why I'm on the City Council.
Yeah, and I've been a resident of Malibu for 23 years. We built our home here. And we actually lived over at Agoura Hills for 16 years before that. So I know Malibu very, very intensely from my time here. And this is home. Yeah. And we want to, I think all the council members feel the same way. We want to give back to the community. This is our chance to bring our experiences and represent the people of Malibu to make the city what it wants to be and what it can be, and to preserve what we enjoy about it. I mean, this is a little town of 10,000 people, 12,000, depending on whose count you want to have, with 15 million visitors and 20 square miles. We are so unique. We're sitting right next to Los Angeles, one of the largest urban sites in the country. So it's a wonderful place to be. We got to keep it that way.
Well, you guys do a lot of work. Can you disclose your pay?
Oh yeah. You get paid?
If
you get paid, I got a complaint.
I think we get $560.
$500 a month or something. Right?
And I don't think it covers gas mileage.
This is not a love of money. This is a love of the community. Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful sentiment. I mean, it just goes to show you how much you guys really care about Malibu and the people in it. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with us and telling the community about, all the issues that they care about and that you care about.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I do hope that some of the stuff we've talked about may encourage some of the students at some point in time to step up and say, I want to volunteer for some kind of community effort. It can be City Council, Public Safety Commission, Planning Commission. There's a bunch of work that needs to be done, and we need smart people to do that. So Pepperdine's got a lot of smart people.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
And, Pepperdine is part of Malibu, too.
It is.
And we love having the students. We love having the faculty and the parents here. And thank you for inviting us today.
Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Back to the hosts outside.
Thank you, Liza, and thank you, Steve and Doug, for being here with us today. We really appreciate all of your support of Newswaves week in and week out. And with all that work you do, I'm kind of thinking you guys might need a raise.
Yeah, I did not know that they made that. It really shows their dedication to Malibu.
It definitely does.
I mean, a lot of respect there because I could not sit through those 6-hour meetings for that long.
But we do for free sometimes, so.
Well, thanks again, Liza.